Good morning, or hello again. Today we're going to talk about Lesson 3-4, which is factoring with the greatest common factor, or factoring out a greatest common factor. And there's several things we need to learn to do this. But the main thing you need to know is that at the end of the process, you're going to have two items. It may be a monomial, a polynomial, that you're going to multiply together, and you're going to end up getting your original equation. You're not going to have an answer of m equals 2 or whatever, but we will need to learn this so that later you'll have the ability to solve problems using the method of factoring. So I'm going to go here and we're going to talk first about excuse me, some of the things that you need to be able to do. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to find the GCF, or the greatest common factor. And we learned how to do that yesterday. Then you're going to divide your original polynomial by your greatest common factor. So you're going to divide your polynomial by the GCF. And then you're going to write your answer, write the factored answer. Answer. And my writing is not very good, I understand that. Write the factored, that says factored answer. And it'll look like this. You'll have your GCF in front, and you're going to have a set of parentheses, and it may have a plus or a minus in between two elements. It may be three elements. But whatever you do, your final answer from when you factor something, the first thing you do is look for a greatest common factor, and that goes out in front. Later, when we factor quadratic equations, look for a GCF first, and that goes out in front. The problem I have with several students over the course of the years is they'll write their factored product, but they forget to put this in the front of the answer. So let's look at our first problem here. 15m squared minus 9. So we're going to find out our greatest common factor. And the greatest common factor of 15 and 9 is going to be 3. Now, there's not an m in both places, so there's no letter that we need to use. So step 1, we found our greatest common factor. Step 2, we divide the polynomial by the greatest common factor. So you have to divide each element of that polynomial divided by, in this case, 3. And you're going to get an answer when you do that. 15 divided by 3 is 5. And you have still an m squared. And minus 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So we've done our division, step 2. Now step 3 is going to be our answer. That's going to be our answer. Write the factored answer. Put our GCF first, which was 3. And then the part we got when we did our division, the 5m squared minus 3 goes in parentheses. That's this part right here. And that's your final answer. And when you look at it, I should be able to distribute this 3. 3 times 5m squared is 15m squared. And 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. So when I do this multiplication here as my answer, I should go back and be able to find the original equation. All right, number 2, the GCF. We have 5 is our number, greatest common factor, and they both have at least one x. So our GCF in this case is 5x. Step 2, divide the polynomial by the greatest common factor. 5x squared over x, 5 over 5 is 1. X squared over x is x. 10 divided by 5 is 2, so we have plus 2. And then x divided by x is 1. So the final answer, you can't forget the greatest common factor. Be sure you put the 5x in front. And then you put what you got when you did your division, x plus 2 in parentheses. And that's your answer. Okay. In number 3 here, we have a polynomial. I'm going to move it up. Go over here and click on my mouse. Move this up a little bit to the top of the screen. Work a couple more. Our greatest common factor for number 3, we have 4, 6, and 14. 4 is 2 times 2. 6 is 2 times 3. And 14 is 2 times 7. So they all have just a 2 in common. So 2 is the number greatest common factor. Then let's look at our x's. We have 5 x's in this one, 3 in this middle term, and 1 x on the end. So the least number of x's they all have is just a 1x. So greatest common factor is 2 times x. We go and do the division. All right, let's start again. Hopefully we're going. Okay, I think we're right. I had to pause. I guess you might have heard the phone ring, or you might not have, but the phone rang. So we have 4x to the 5th over 2x minus 6x cubed over 2x, and then plus 14x over 2x. Okay, got our division. Now when we actually perform the operation, 4 divided by 2 is 2. X to the 5th over x to the 5 minus 1 would be x to the 4th. Minus 6 divided by 2 is 3. X to the 3 minus 1 is x squared. Plus 14 divided by 2 is 7. And my x over x becomes 1. And there's the division. So when I write the answer, you write the greatest common factor first. And then in parentheses, you have what you got when you did your division problem. So you have 2x to the 4th minus 3x squared plus 7. And as you should check, 2x times 2x to the 4th, 4x to the 5th, 2x times negative 3x squared, negative 6x cubed, and 2x times 7 is 14x. So be sure when you distribute this back, you end up with your original equation. Looking at these last two, we're getting a little more complicated with our variables. So GCF, 8 is 4 times 2, 12 is 4 times 3. So the greatest common factor is 4. Now this negative right here, we usually want to factor out a negative if our first term is negative. That way we always have a first term that's positive. So doesn't so much matter what the second sign is, but if the first sign is negative, factor out a negative. So we're going to factor out a negative 4. There's 2 a's here and 1 here, so they have 1 in common. There's 1 b and 2 b's, so they have a b in common. Now both of them have a c squared, so they have a c squared that they're both have. So the greatest common factor is negative 4 abc squared. So we're going to divide, and you May or may not have to write this each time, but I'm going to. Divided by negative 4 AB C squared minus 12 A B squared C squared over negative 4 ABC squared. Now be careful and be sure that you include these negatives. This was minus, so that goes there, and the negative 4, so we end up with two negatives. So when we actually divide this polynomial, first term is going to become positive. 8 divided by 4 is 2. A squared over A is A to the 2 minus 1, so that's A. B's, there's a B and a B, so they any number over itself or any letter over itself is 1. And C squared over C squared is also 1. So when I divide this, I just end up with a 2A. Second term, we have negative over negative, so that's plus. 12 divided by 4 is 3. A over A is 1. B squared over B, B to the 2 minus 1 is B to the first. And our C squareds will cancel to be 1. C squared over C squared is 1. So the final answer that you're going to write, your factored polynomial, is your greatest common factor in front times 2A plus 3B. And you're done. That's your final answer right here. Okay. Now on this last part, again, find the GCF. We've got a couple more to do. We're not completely finished. Greatest common factor is 3. They both have at least 2 x's. But this one doesn't have a y. So they can't put a y as part of the greatest common factor. So let's just try to do this in our head. 3x to the 4th over 3x squared. 3 over 3 is 1. First we're going to put our greatest common factor in front. 3 over 3 is 1. X to the 4th over x squared is x squared. Minus 9 divided by 3 is 3. X cubed over x squared is an x. Y over no y is a y. Plus 6 divided by 3 is 2. X squared over x squared is going to be 1. And we have our y squared that we have nothing to divide by. And so that would be the final answer for number 5. Again, check it by multiplying this back, distributing the 3x squared, and make sure you get your original problem. Right? Now let's move on to the next page. We have one more example and then a word problem or two. We're just going to do the one example of this word problem. Alright, we're going to go greatest common factor, 15 and 20, 5 times 3, 5 times 4. So my greatest common factor is 5. Alright, the greatest common factor is 5. Whoop, I need to erase that. Then you look and you have 2 x's in both of them. So 5x squared. You have a y in each of them, at least one y, and you have one z in each of them. So that's your greatest common factor. When you divide each by 5x squared y, you end up with 3. 15 divided by 5 is 3. X, y, z plus 4 x squared over x squared is 1, y over y is 1, so you have z squared as your last term. Okay. Now on this one you have a perimeter. This is a system of equations. You've got a perimeter of this rectangle is 42, and the formula for perimeter is 2L plus 2W. So you have 42 equals 2L plus 2W. And then you have the length, you have width here. The length is 6 more than twice the width. So it's 2W plus 6. That comes from this sentence right here. And then we're going to use substitution to solve this. So you have 2 times 2W plus 6 plus 2W. This is review for you, should be. 42 then is equal to 4W plus 12. And you still have your plus 2W. Subtract your 12, so you'll have 30 is equal to 6W, and then W is equal to 5, but that doesn't answer the question. We want the length, so to find the length you have to have 2 times 5 plus 6, or 16 feet, and that answers the question of the problem. Alright, I'm not going to work the last one. Hopefully you can get it from one of your friends. We did it in class if this is a review for you. And hopefully this helps you review for your homework if you didn't get all the notes or if you were absent.